Welcome. The previous video understood the asymptotic notations big O, big omega, theta, and then little o and little omega. Now we will see some relationship between these two set of families and the properties. So these are some important properties we are going to discuss. So big notations, we call them as non-strict family because they have less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, or equivalent big theta. This is how you can understand. So if I say f of n is less than or equal to c into g of n, I can say it is big O. Okay, so this is important here. Now if I have f of n greater than or equal to c into g of n, then I say it is big omega. Then f of n is equivalent to c into g of n. That means both of these exist. That implies theta bond, okay, tight bonds. So this is important. This is how we can understand or solve the problems. Okay. Now this is not strict family. Okay, because less than or equal to, this equal to plays an important role. Now when it comes to little notations, if f of n is strictly less than, c into g of n, then I have little o notation. Then f of n is strictly greater than c of g of n, we have the little omega notation. Now theta, okay, small theta, this is big theta. Okay, for theta implies what? It is O of g of n and omega g of n exists. We don't have small theta concept. Why? Because the theta implies equivalence. When I have less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. Okay, so this is big O, this is big omega. So then, since because there is a equal sign between them, I will define this theta, big theta. There is nothing like small theta. Why? Because when I take the small omega and then small o, a little o, this is like this, strictly less. So I cannot define the equivalence here. Equivalence cannot be defined. Hence, there is no theta notation for the strict family. These are only two belongs to strict family. So the key thing here to understand is this symbols. Okay. And one more thing is this g of n. When I write a function f of n, say for example, is equal to big O of g of n, we always say this, whatever I am writing big O is a set, not a single function. It's a set of functions g of n. Okay. For better understanding, let us understand the limit concept. Okay, and I'll represent it on number line for your intuition. So based on this limit n approaches infinity, f of n divided by g of n, we find out some limit value. Okay, so there are three different values possible. If this limit, it can be 0, it can become some constant c, and this can become infinite. Three values are possible. So 0, c, and infinite, the limit value when f of n divided by g of n as n approaches infinity. Well, 0 means what? So it's already seen in little o notation, so I can represent it as little o, and also I can represent it as big O. Why? See, when I say 0, I am actually here on the number line represented from say 0 to infinite. In between, I have c, some c limit value c, not 0 or infinity. So I am talking about at this point. So at this point, what I am defining my O of g of n or little o of g of n. So hence these two holds. If L is equal to some constant, when it is constant, okay, I can only define big theta. This implies if I am able to define big theta, I am also able to define big O and big omega, right? Because theta implies big O and big omega. So what I am seeing in this line is at this point, exactly at this point, theta exists. So that is why it's called a tight bond. So this is the point where greater than or equal to, less than or equal to meets. Right? This becomes equivalent. That's why theta. So this side both should exist, big omega and big O. That is the reason we write it like this. So these three exist. Now if it is infinite, limit value is infinite, then what exactly it means? That I am dealing with this boundary, this side, okay, for large n size. So I can define what? Big omega and little omega. So this is the intuition. So it's all about less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, equivalent, and then less than, greater, strictly less than, strictly greater than. Okay. So now we'll see some implication laws. Suppose say that f of n equal to little o of g of n, that implies f of n equal to big O of g of n. See what exactly they mean to say. If I have a function, say f of n, this f of n, I am representing say something like this to some point n naught. Okay. Now there is a function g of n, c into g of n. So when I represent f of n is equal to little o of g of n, this means what? F of n is strictly less than c into g of n. So that definitely means what? This is the upper bound. Okay. So that when it is, I'm saying upper bound, it is very strict. So that definitely means what? I can write it as f of n equal to big O of g of n, because g of n is still acting as the upper bound. So that is the meaning. So this law holds first. Similarly for lower bounds, just the reverse. Okay. So f of n equal to big omega of n if it is little omega of g of n. Then next is the mutual exclusive property. So this is very simple. You can understand from our notations itself. You need not mug up all this. Okay, in the exam, if there are some properties like this or some combinations like this, you just take this approach. So they are saying little o of g of n intersection omega of g of n. I already told you that this asymptotic notations implies sets. What exactly little o of g of n represents? It will take set as it is nothing but less than. See, that is f of n is less than g of n. Right? This is f of n equal to order O of g of n, little o of g of n intersection f of n equal to omega. So this is nothing but contains less than. Intersection omega means what? Strictly greater than. Right? So intersection is what now? Empty. So that's it. So this is how you can solve any question. You need not remember all these formulas. Then similarly check. This is understood. Similarly, intersection with theta of g of n. So little o of g of n intersection theta of g of n. So what it will be? Little o is less than, and intersection theta means is equivalent. So again intersection is empty, null. Okay. So this is how you have to solve. So similarly we will do this. Omega, big omega of g of n is equal to little omega of g of n union theta of g of n. So what will be equal to little omega of g of n means this is a set containing strictly greater than. Union theta contains equivalence, right? So this is nothing but we'll get it as greater than or equal to. Greater than or equal to means what? Theta. So that is it is true for omega. So hence this is next. Transitivity of little o and little omega, just like your transitivity in big notations, big asymptotic notation. Same thing applies here also. So f of n equal to little o of g of n and g of n equal to little o of h of n. That implies what? F of n equal to little o of h of n. So transitivity holds on little notations as well. Similarly for little omega, f of n equal to little omega of g of n and g of n is little omega of h of n. That implies f of n is this f of n is little omega of h of n. Okay. Now we'll see some additive property and multiplicative properties. If I add or multiply this asymptotic notation, what is the result? First we'll see for big O notation and or big asymptotic notations. Suppose say that I have f1 of n equal to big O of g1 of n and f2 of n is equal to big O of g2 of n. If I take f1 addition of these two functions f1 and f2, what will be the resultant asymptotic notation? So it will be always big O of maximum of either g1 of n comma g2 of n. Why? There is a simple reason. So for example, f of n is equal to say n square. Okay, f of 2 of n is equal to say n cube. Okay. Then say I have g1 of n is equal to say n square, or to say 2n square. g2 of n equal to say n to the power 4. So if I add these two functions, f1 plus f2 will be equal to n square plus n cube. Okay. So this will be big O of C. It should be 2n square plus n to the power 4. If I add, what will happen? So again, take addition, it will be 2n square plus n to the power 4. That means what it is? Big O of n power 4 only. No? So maximum of these two. So that is the upper bound. So it also applies for big omega and theta. Okay. That means what the slow growing terms eventually becomes insignificant. That's what you are seeing in the analysis framework. We'll ignore the small or small terms. Okay. Small order terms. Similarly, it applies for your little o notations also. So if f of 1 equal to n, f1 of n equal to little o of g1 of n, and f2 of n equal to little o of g2 of n, then adding these two functions will be little o of maximum of these two, g1 or n or g2 of n. Similarly, you can also apply it for omega notations. Both the notations are valid. Also, for strict notations, if these two functions are same, okay, here f1 n equal to little o of g of n, and f2 of n is equal to little o of g of n. Okay, g of n remains same. So when I add them, it is again the same concept. Maximum of these two. So when the function is same, so it will be same only. Maximum of the same function is, we get the same. So hence it is true. For example, let us see, identify the overall tight bound of the functions f of n equal to n cube plus n square log n using the maximum rule. So out of this, maximum of n cube comma n square log n. So this is nothing but equal to theta of n cube, because n cube is the maximum. Then you come to the multiplicative property. So multiplication means if I multiply these two functions, what will happen? So it will always be product of them, f1 into f2 equal to order of g1 into g2. So this is important when we have nested loops. Okay? When I come to the how to find the time complexity of the iterative algorithms or non-recursive algorithms, I will explain. So that will be multiplication. So this implies, for example, if I have f1 of n is equal to n square and f2 of n is equal to say n cube plus some constant. f1 into f2 is exactly what I am multiplying these two functions. So when I multiply, it will be n power 5 plus n square, right? So this is nothing but what? You can write it as g1 of n into g2 of n. So let us say this is n square, this is n cube, right? So n power 5. So this will be n power 5. This is nothing but this function is upper bounded by n power 5. That is the product, because the higher term becomes n to the power 5, right? That is the reason you take the product of these functions. Same thing also applies for little o notations and little omega notation. This also applies for big omega and big theta. Product rule is simple. You just take the product of g of n. For example, suppose an outer loop runs theta of n times, and for each iteration an inner loop runs theta log n times. Find the total work done. So for example, they are saying for I is 1 to n. Inside this for loop, again there is an inner loop for j 1 to say some n, and then this operation inside this happens log n time. The basic operation runs for log n times. That means this entire loop runs for not n times, log n times, because of some increment operations or some operation how I change the j value. Okay, so don't worry, we'll see many examples on this in the further video lectures how to calculate. So that means what? This is running n times. For every iteration, I am running this log n times. So it is nothing but n into log n. So this is the outcome. So that is the product rule here. Okay. So this is f of n, say, and this f of f1 of n. Let us say this is f2 of n. Then it is product n into log n. Next, you can also multiply the constant multiple properties. There in the previous examples or property you have seen multiplying two functions. Here multiplying constants. See, this is by definition itself it holds. C into f of n is equal to big O of g of n, because by definition itself f of n is less than or equal to c into g of n. So this constant already you are multiplying. So it also holds for both strict family as well as the non-strict family. Big O and little big notations, asymptotic notation, little asymptotic notations. Constant do not affect limits evaluating 0 or infinity. Okay, whenever I take this based on this function, this limit concept only we are evaluating f of n divided by g of n. So whenever I take some constants here, it doesn't matter. So for example, if I take f of n is equal to n square, g of n is equal to say 4n cube. Now, when I write like this, so what happens? Limit n approaches infinity, n square divided by 4n cube. Okay, what will happen now? So this cancels. It will be 1 by n, 1 by 4n. Limit n approaches infinity, n divided 1 divided by 4n. So whatever may be the value here, whatever may be the value, whatever the constant value, okay, it is not affected. So n will put infinity, it will become 0. The limits are not affected by constant you multiply. So thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe and share.